Welcome, everybody. I would like to call this meeting to order. But welcome again to the Assembly Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Assemblyman DeLong.
Present.
Assemblywoman Dickman.
Here.
Assemblyman De Silva.
Here.
Assemblywoman Gonzalez.
Here.
Assemblyman Hibbets. Assemblyman MacArthur.
Here.
Assemblywoman Brittany Miller.
Here.
Assemblyman Cameron Miller. Assemblywoman Monroe Marino.
Here.
Assemblywoman Newby.
Here.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Here.
Chair Gorlow.
And I'm here. Thank you very much. Please mark Assemblyman Miller present when he arrives. I know he is on his way. Again, welcome everyone in Carson City. I don't see anyone in Vegas. Hopefully someone joins us there. Today we have 7 work session bills. However, we are going to hold off on Senate Bill 354. So with that, I'd like to just remind you some housekeeping. Make sure you turn off your devices. If you need to come up to the table for any reason, don't forget to turn on the microphone and state and spell your name for the record. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Each person has 2 minutes, and you can submit public testimony in writing up to 24 hours after the meeting. And with that, we shall begin. I will now open up the work session and turn it over to Ms. Prohl to walk us through the documents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Haley Prohl, Committee Policy Analyst. The first bill on work session today is Senate Bill 60. This was heard in committee on May 11th. The measure makes various changes concerning elections. I'm not going to read through them all, but there is an amendment by the Office of the Secretary of State, which seeks to revise certain statutes to clarify that mail ballots may be counted prior to the closing of the polls pursuant to existing law, provide that the counting procedures must be public and continue without adjournment until completed as practicable, and repeal outdated provisions relating to counting paper ballots. Second, allow the Secretary of State to establish by regulation a sensitivity level threshold to be used in determining whether a vote for any office or question may be counted under certain circumstances. And third, remove language authorizing a voter to request a replacement mail ballot and designate a person to sign the replacement ballot on his or her behalf under certain circumstances, and add language to instead allow a registered voter the ability to request and use the effective absentee system for elections in the event of an emergency. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Committee members, are there any questions? Okay, I will entertain a motion to, I'm sorry, do you have a question? Oh, after you want the motion, okay. I'll entertain a motion to pass SB 60.
So moved.
Is it amend? It is. I'm sorry. It is amended to pass. So we have a first from Vice Chair Miller and a second from Assemblywoman Newby. Any comments or questions on the motion? Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I just have a little statement. Normally, I would be in support of this bill, but until the governor receives a fair hearing on AB 405, his election bill, I'm going to have to be voting no on any election bills. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Members, are there any other questions or comments? Okay. Seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Nay. Okay. Please raise your hand for your nays. I have Assemblywoman Dickman, Assemblyman DeLong, Assemblyman Hibbets, and Assemblyman MacArthur. And with that, the motion passes. I will assign that floor statement to Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Okay, moving on to Senate Bill 133. I will turn it over again to Ms. Prohl.
Thank you, Chair. Senate Bill 133 was heard in committee on May 11th. The measure prohibits a person from creating or serving in a false slate of presidential electors or conspiring to commit such acts. A person who violates these provisions is guilty of a Category B felony, may be subject to a fine and liable for the costs of investigation and prosecution, and is not eligible for probation or suspended sentence. The bill authorizes a person who believes that such an offense has occurred to notify the Secretary of State, who then must investigate or refer the alleged violation to the Attorney General for investigation and prosecution. Finally, the bill prohibits a person convicted of such an offense from being elected or appointed to public office or being employed by the state or a local government. And there are no amendments for this measure.
Thank you very much. Committee members, do you have any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I will accept a motion to pass Senate Bill 133. Okay, I have a first from Assemblywoman Moreno and a second from Assemblyman Miller. Any comments or questions on the motions? Okay, Assemblywoman Dickman.
Thank you so much again, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say this has never happened in Nevada, except for one time in the entire history. It has happened other places with Democrat electors, false electors. But it had zero effect on the election when it happened here. It's not going to have any effect on any election because by virtue of what it says, they're false electors. And the penalty is, as the public defender said, way over the top. So I will have to be a no. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm curious by the accusation of a false Democratic elector. Well, I don't know enough to say true or false, but we're just going to move on, okay?
Okay, thanks. There's an email probably that you have that will explain.
I'll do a little bit more research than an email, but thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Oh, Assemblywoman Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll be supporting this measure because we are here to make laws for the state of Nevada. I can't dictate what happens in other states, but we have to make sure that the elections within our state, the people casting their ballots, those that are working at voting polls are safe. And our job is to make sure that elections in the state of Nevada is safe. And so for that reason, I will be casting my vote for yes on this provision.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? Nay. Raise your hands. I have Assemblywoman Dickman, Assemblyman DeLong, Assemblyman Hibbett, and Assemblyman MacArthur. With that, the motion passes. And I will assign that floor statement to Assemblyman Miller. Assemblyman. Thank you very much, and we will move on to Senate Bill 262.
Thank you, Chair. Senate Bill 262 was heard in committee on May 16th. The measure eliminates the requirement that a member of a town advisory board or citizens advisory council be a qualified elector. Senator Flores proposed the attached amendment that seeks to, 1, additionally require a member of a town advisory board or citizens advisory council to be a citizen of the United States or lawfully entitled to reside in the United States. 2, clarify that members of a town advisory board must still be qualified electors if such a board has been delegated the power to manage one or more town services by the Board of County Commissioners, as the board would no longer be purely advisory in nature. And 3, replace the term office with position in the declaration of candidacy for a member of a town advisory board so as not to create an implication that these members are public officers. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to amend and do pass Senate Bill 262.
So moved.
I have a first from Assemblywoman Miller and a second from Assemblywoman Newby. Any comments or questions on the motion? Oh, Assemblywoman Miller.
Thank you, Chair Gorlow. I'd just like to say that I know that there were deep concerns about this bill or the impression of the bill when it first came forward, and I also did share some of those concerns, and so I appreciate the bill sponsor amending it to clarify what the intention of this bill was and to make sure that we're capturing the people, the different groups and everything that's appropriate, but I really appreciate his amendments on that, and that's why I was able to move to a yes. And so I just hope that going forward too, I know a lot of times narrative speaks louder than policy, but just that people make sure that they read the bill and the amendment and understand the contributions that will be coming from including more people into these groups. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much for that comment. I would agree. I too had some concerns, and I'm very appreciative to work with the bill sponsor and make those changes. So with that, I'll ask one more time. Any more comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor to amend and do pass Senate Bill 262, say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? Okay, please raise your hand. We have nays from Assemblywoman Dickman, Assemblyman DeLong, Assemblyman Hibbets, and Assemblyman MacArthur. And with that, the motion does pass, and I will assign that floor statement to Assemblyman De Silva. Okay, moving on to Senate Bill 328.
Thank you, Chair. Senate Bill 328 was heard in committee on May 16th. The measure makes the Cannabis Compliance Board subject to the provisions of the Nevada Administrative Procedure Act for the purposes of adopting, amending, or repealing regulations and the adjudication of contested cases. The bill repeals statutes that set forth specific procedures for the board to adopt, amend, or repeal regulations, and revises the procedures for the board to take disciplinary action to conform with the procedures for the adjudication of contested cases. And there are two proposed amendments. Senator Titus and Senator Wen proposed the attached amendment, which revises provisions relating to the legislative findings and declarations of the cannabis industry, the board's membership and powers, and the types of regulations the board may adopt. And that attached amendment is the same that was presented during Tuesday's meeting, with the exception of two changes that address items that were discussed during the meeting, and those are highlighted on the second page of that attached amendment. In addition, the Legal Division of the Legislative Counsel Bureau proposes a technical amendment to, one, add transitory language to apply the bill to contested cases that commence on or after the effective date, so that cases in process under the current administrative procedures governing the board do not need to restart under a new procedure. And two, to add transitory language to ensure the regulation adoption process applies only to new regulations as of the effective date and does not affect regulations currently in process that have not yet been adopted by the board. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to amend and do pass Senate Bill 328.
So moved.
I have a first from Assemblywoman Moreno, and I think a second from Assemblywoman Gonzalez. Any questions or comments on the motion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, and we will assign that floor statement to Assemblywoman Newby. And with that, we will move on to Senate Bill 404.
Thank you, Chair. Senate Bill 404 was heard in committee on May 16th. The measure sets forth what constitutes satisfactory identification for purposes of voter challenges based on proof of residency. The bill further provides that the provisions of existing law relating to voter challenges do not authorize a person to challenge the ability of a registered voter to vote by mail ballot. Finally, the bill authorizes the counting of the returns for early voting to begin on or after the first day of early voting, and there are no amendments.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to pass Senate Bill 404.
So moved.
I have a motion from Assemblywoman Miller, second from Assemblyman De Silva. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay? Nay. Please raise your hand for the nays. We have nays from Assemblywoman Dickman, Assemblyman DeLong, Assemblyman Hibbets, and Assemblyman MacArthur. With that, the motion passes, and I will give the floor statement to Assemblywoman Miller.
Thank you, Chair.
And moving on to Senate Bill 418.
Thank you, Chair. The final measure on work session today is Senate Bill 418. It was heard in committee on May 9th. The measure, as originally written, requires a candidate for district judge to submit with his or her declaration of candidacy the same application that is required by the Commission on Judicial Selection from a person who applies to fill a district court vacancy. There is a proposed amendment by Senator Scheibel. During the bill presentation, she had proposed an amendment to replace the original content of the bill with provisions to require that, in addition to a declaration of candidacy, a candidate for judicial office must file with the appropriate filing officer a questionnaire prescribed by the Supreme Court that includes information on, but is not limited to, the candidate's education and qualifications for the office that he or she seeks to fill. Senator Scheibel has since proposed a new amendment, which is attached to the work session document, that seeks to replace the original content of the bill with provisions that still require a judicial candidate to complete and file such a questionnaire, though the requirement now does not apply to incumbent judicial candidates. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, are there any questions? Okay, Speaker Yeager.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, and I appreciate the sponsor of the bill for being willing to do the amendment. I did want to note, and I know we're still in sort of questions or comments, but when we get to the motion, I did want to ask for one additional clarification that I think legal could do pretty easily, and I think is in line with the intent of the bill, and that would just be to indicate that the amendment says that non-incumbents have to fill out the form and submit it, but to make clear that incumbents can do it if they want to do it. They're not precluded from doing it. And I think the way I envision it in my mind is, particularly in judicial offices, often incumbents file and they might not get an opponent for a week or two. So they wouldn't fill out the questionnaire, but then if they do get an opponent and the opponent has to fill it out, they may want to submit their own. So I've consulted with legal and they said that would be appropriate. So if there aren't any other questions, I can certainly make that motion to amend and do pass with the further clarification that it would be permissive for incumbents if they wanted to fill out the questionnaire.
Thank you very much. Committee members, any other questions or comments on Speaker Yeager's amendment? Okay, seeing none, then I've got a motion to amend and do pass, including additional verbiage by Speaker Yeager. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second from Assemblywoman Dickman. Any questions on the motion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. And I will assign that floor statement. Would you like it, Assemblywoman Monroe Moreno? Sure. All right, there we go. All right, and after that, we are going to close the work session and we will open up public comment. Each person again has 2 minutes to provide testimony. Written public comment may also be submitted to the committee up to 24 hours after the meeting. Is there anyone in Carson City who would like to come to the table and provide public comment? Don't all rush up here at once. Okay, seeing none, we'll go to Las Vegas and no one is there. Broadcasting, anyone on the telephone?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press $9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello, my name is Michael Ryan, Michael-Ryan. I'm a longtime resident of Nevada and a Marine Corps veteran. I want to know why Governor Lombardo's SB 405 is stalled and not moving forward. This is unacceptable. You can be part of the solution to return Nevada to rationality through common sense legislation like SB 405. You need an ID for just about everything in life, including interacting with government agencies. This bill provides free IDs to those who may not be able to afford it and has the simple requirement of proof of voter ID to prevent voter fraud. What a novel concept. It also requires ballot harvesters to identify themselves. So if an employer or a union is illegally pressuring their employees to vote a certain way, that bad actor can be held accountable. Finally, this requires mail-in ballots to be received by Election Day. There is no rational reason not to move SB 405 forward. Nellis is reporting that 80% of your constituents support this bill. Why are you not listening to your constituents? Are the Democrats in the state legislature afraid of losing their power by supporting the bill? Or is it a more nefarious reason why they do not want all Nevadans' voices heard, including liberals, conservatives, and independents? Please move SB 405 forward for further consideration. Listen to your constituents, please. This is what they want. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Broadcasting, next caller.
Chair, there are no callers choosing to provide public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Before I close this meeting, is there any committee members that'd like to make any comments? Okay, we will be at the call of the chair for tomorrow in case we have any last-minute work sessions. And with that, I will say, please be good to each other, and we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.